Well, hello. We are trying a different type of streaming services, so I hope this works. This should be, if everything goes well, streaming on Facebook as well as YouTube. So, welcome, Life Storytellers. I'm so glad that you are here. This is Resilience This Week, and this is the live show that helps you become a more resilient person. And so this week we're diving into whether or not you've started writing your journal, how to utilize a journal, and looking into the best ways to journal for your health. So I hope you'll join us for the entire show. And of course, we'll have the mystery mail with viewers' reactions and take your comments and questions at the same time. So let me just check my settings here. By the way, I'm Stacy Brookman, life storytelling and resilience expert and host of the Real Life Resilience podcast, which is worldwide, actually. Lots of people watch it from all over North America as well as other countries around the world. So it's very exciting. While I'm checking my settings, go ahead and type in the comment section below, have you ever had a journal? Or are you currently utilizing a journal? And what types of journals have you written? So there's like 3 different questions in there. Have you ever had a journal? Are you currently utilizing a journal? And what types of journals have you written? All right, let me just check my streams here and see how things are going. I'm going to go to the PIP screen here. There's my vMix. Oh, we're going over to here. Okay. Looks like everything's going well. I'm excited. This technology is working, and you know how, if you've been through some of my other live streams earlier on, you know how technology challenged I am. So very happy that this is actually working. So very cool. So yes, I would love to know, have you ever had a journal? Are you currently utilizing a journal? And what types of journals have you written? I'm just going to go on Facebook and check this out and see if we've got some folks here. There we go. All right. I can see you. Fabulous. So, you know what? In case you're wondering, a journal is kind of like a daily brain dump. That's what I consider it. It's like a daily brain dump, just getting all that junk out of your head. And so that, number one, you can sleep a lot better. I was just watching Dr. Berg, I think it is, on YouTube, and he was talking about like writing down all the things that you are on your mind, all the problems that you have. You're not going to solve them when you sleep. Just get them out of your head so you can sleep better. So a journal is kind of like that, but it's different than a diary. A diary is where you write down your events and here's what happened. Here's what it was sunny out or whatever, it rained today. But a journal should tell an emotional element of whatever happened to you that day. So your feelings, your emotions, the problems that you've had, but also, the solutions that you've come up with, the great things that have happened, maybe insights you've reached or things that you're questioning, and just writing those down into a journal is incredibly beneficial. In fact, there's been a study that says it's the 2-minute miracle. And so that is just 2 minutes. Excuse me, allergies. Just 2 minutes a day writing in your journal is known to even boost your immune system. I would recommend writing a little bit longer than that, but it's all about writing your thoughts, your feelings in particular, and diving into what's happened to you. It doesn't even have to be that particular day. It could be thoughts around something that happened in the past, and a way to explore that in a much safer way. A lot of people are writing, are just afraid of writing down their experiences because they're afraid of exposing their vulnerabilities to maybe some other people. Well, journal is private, but yes, I was very afraid, especially since, I was married to a sociopath. Definitely, he got onto my computer, he got onto my phone, he definitely would have gotten into a journal. And yes, I was very afraid of other people seeing. And aside from that, maybe you're afraid of like a child coming across it, or, a friend, or a regular spouse that's not a sociopath. And just these are your private comments and your thoughts and your feelings, and it's your way of exploring. In fact, I have a podcast called The Vomelet, and the person I was interviewing there was amazing. He said, like, sometimes kids write really awful, horrible stories of murder or mayhem or all different kinds of stuff, and really that's them dealing with what's happening. It's not like that they were really want to do that. It's just them dealing with some of the tough stuff in their head, and so that's actually healthy for them. So it's good for you to do that. However, if you're afraid of other people seeing it, you can do a couple of different things. You can send an email to yourself, or maybe like have a different, just set up an email address that's just for this, and send yourself an email to that, and then you can delete it from your current email that you sent it from. You can do that. That would keep it private. I often had sent, when I was in some involved in some really tough stuff, and it was really tough, I would send emails to my work email address, and then the next day when I was at work, I would collect those. And that's not always possible for people to send it to their work email address, but I did at the time, and that really helped a lot. It helped for clarity as well, because when you're under stress, and we've talked about this quite a bit, when you're under stress, your brain is in brain fog, and writing things down, talking through with yourself your feelings about something is, especially at the moment that it's happening, is very helpful in providing clarity around what really did happen. My daughter is learning Japanese, and so here's another thing. Journaling is one of the best ways to learn a different language. And it's also a great way for no one else to know what you're writing if they discover it. So I'm not saying you should learn Japanese, but I'm saying maybe you can learn, or if maybe you already knew, like maybe you started on French in high school or college, and maybe you could kind of dredge that up and start writing in French in your journal. And most people will not know what that's all about. You can also text it to yourself, or text it to a very safe friend who can then collect it somewhere. Or you can also start a blog that is not public. Like, just it's practically free nowadays to start a blog. You can go to Blogspot or WordPress. There's a free WordPress site. And nobody needs to see it. You just post the blog, and it's not in any of your emails or anything like that. And then you don't publicize it so nobody sees it. There's also a way to make it not found on the Google search engine. So it's just your own private blog, which is your own private journal, and nobody else will see. And so I highly, highly recommend that. So let's dig into own private journals, and nobody else there we go. Let's dig into a little bit. Hey Linda, how are you? I'm so glad you're watching. And I'm glad you're watching on this new technology that I've figured out. It's using Restream and vMix, and going to YouTube as well as Facebook. So hey YouTubers, glad that you're here joining me. If you are on Facebook, hey, just type in live. Even if you're watching this as a replay, type in LIVE, and you'll get notified from my little Stacy bot of when I go live. But also, if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and click the little bell button. I am going to, in the next 4 weeks, going to start uploading some amazing videos that are Q&A videos, all about resilience, narcissistic relationships, recovering from trauma, all of those type of things. They're very short little videos, so I would love for you to subscribe and click the bell, and you'll be notified whenever I upload those. And so thank you. Hey, Joanne. So now I wanted to head on over here to my blog post of the week, and this is one that I loved doing. It's called Worst Ex Ever Comparison. Was your breakup this bad? And so I had dug into a little bit of history in this one and thought, you know what, I couldn't have the first 8 crazy ex ever. And so I did some digging, and there's author Jennifer Wright, and she told the story of Emperor Nero, who killed off everyone who was ever around him. And so there's some other really interesting stories in here about outrageous ex-husbands and ex-wives. And you know what? If nobody had ever written down their stories, we would not have these. We wouldn't know. So I'm so glad somebody wrote these down. Oscar Kokoschka had a lifelike doll made of his ex that he took out on the town. Very strange. Yes, my exes are strange, but that really probably takes the cake. You could also send a letter to your ex, but not send it. Write the letter. Don't send it. Please don't send it. You know, that kind of helps get some of that angst out and anger. And writing really is a very safe way to process those feelings. And sometimes when things happen to us, like when we're in a breakup, you know, our brain kind of tries to keep us safe by hiding some of that stuff from us. And writing helps bring it out, and it doesn't do any good to hide from you later on. Maybe it's in the moment protective, but when you write about it, you get it out and you're able to process it. If you don't, then it just squishes down and down and down. Eventually that's going to pop back up. So that's why writing is incredibly helpful. Then we talk about, that governor of New Jersey, yes, and his wife, Dina Matos McGreevy, and she wrote a memoir called Silent Partner, a memoir of my marriage. And you know, a lot of people write memoirs after breakups, and it's because, you know what, you have a side of the story that the public doesn't see. Everybody sees, oh, your ex is so great, I'm so sorry you had to break up, you know, what happened and all of that. But you don't really want to, especially if you have kids, talk about some of those tough things. But writing them down and maybe eventually putting it out into a memoir will let everybody see there are 2 sides to the story. And I like seeing that. I like having people who don't have a voice being able to have that voice by writing a memoir, which is pretty cool. So the next steps, the next steps are to start writing yours, of course, and start that journal. You know, that's, you know, if you don't want to start writing a whole memoir at first, just start a journal and start saying, okay, here's what happened. Just start with one of the most intense incidents that you remember and start writing all about that. What do you see at that moment, that crux when that happened? What do you hear? How did you feel? What did you taste? What were the sights and sounds around you? And really observing in detail. And that's key for right now. From now on out, if you ever have anything that's really tough happening to you, I want you to stop and pause and look around and observe what's happening. Observe, what do you see? Do you hear the birds singing? Is the sun shining? So capturing those details will help, but also capturing how you felt at the moment. So then when you go to write a beautiful story around that, or find some wisdom in that, it's going to be a lot easier. A lot of people don't want to write because they're afraid no one will ever read it. Well, ultimately, if you can create your troubles into a beautiful memoir, into a story that is fascinating. Lots of people do that, and many people really love reading memoirs because, you know, it's kind of like voyeurism. You're reading about somebody else's life. And I think you're giving them a little peek inside what has happened in your life, which is, you know, not everybody has had your experiences. And so you're sharing that with them. Number two, people say, oh, it's already been written. Your story, your particular story, your particular take on it, the wisdom that you have learned is different from everybody else's. And so, yes, there are similar stories, but your story is unique. So, and it needs to be told. Memoir is a dying genre. No way. There are memoirs every single year that are pumped out. In fact, if you ever want to know what memoir is most like your life story, if you go to stacybrookman.com/100 memoirs, you can find a quiz right there, and it has, you know, gosh, over 200 plus of the past 100 plus memoirs of the past 200 years, and you will be able to do a quiz that will match you up with a memoir that's already been written. And even that is still completely different from your own story. I'll make myself look like an ass. Well, yes, that's entirely possible. Things are complicated, but the lessons that you learn, people are going to learn as well. And they're going to really see in your mistakes things that they can either avoid or things that they can fix in their lives. And nobody's perfect. In fact, if you have a perfect life or you write a story about a perfect life, that's boring. Those books don't sell. Nobody wants to read those because nobody else's life is perfect. They want to hear about the missteps that you made and things that happened in your life that weren't so great, and then how you came out of that. And so, yes, it could make you look like an idiot, but it's all for the good. And then finally, dredging up a part of my life is too painful, and going through those details will make you sadder. That's entirely possible. When we look back and we try to remember some of the tough things that have happened in our lives, you're going to have to think through, and you're going to have to remember some of those moments in your life. That's tough. But when you do, you're looking back with older and wiser eyes. You're looking back with the wisdom that you learned. You're actually relearning some of that wisdom maybe you forgot about. You're more mature now. And so that is an amazing way to put a nice little bow on it, wrap it up, and put it away for good. If you just put it away and don't think about it, don't process everything that's happened, that's going to keep popping up and popping up. Because as I've said before, when you experience trauma, it is put into a different part of your brain than the regular memories, and they come back and they keep coming back, and they affect how you operate in the world as an adult. It could have come out as fear of going to the grocery store, when really it's because something happened. And if you wrote about it, you would gain control and power over that incident instead of that incident having power over you. So anyway, that is the blog post of the week. One of my favorite blog posts, the worst ex ever comparison. Was your breakup this bad? Looking into history, there's no worst ex Olympics. If there did, I would enter mine into the Olympics, but there's not, thank goodness. So let's go on to the podcast of the week, which I really love this one too. This is one I did early on with Jim Stovall, who is an amazing, amazing person. He is blind, and he is just inspiring and prolific. This guy, he wanted to, he didn't go blind until late high school, early 20s, and he, at first he said, I just sat in my room and I was like so sad, and things were happening and I was feeling sorry for myself. But he caught on to television for visually impaired folks. And there's actually an organization that does it for, all the movies and TV, and they serve 13 million Americans around the world. It's called Narrative Television Network, and he actually founded this organization so that other blind people can be helped and participate in society, and really, really exciting. And he came across this. He wanted to do this because, you know, he wanted to reverse engineer he really wanted to watch television and hear things and participate. And he obviously said he's got a sense of humor. He said, I didn't know what I was going to do. I instantly realized that there were no blind guys in the NFL, and he had been preparing for an NFL career and as a high school student, but he made lemonade out of lemons. And so I love his, since then, he's been very prolific writer as well, reader, and how he writes is he dictates. So he dictates everything. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Gift or read The Gift. Gosh, there was so many other books. If you go to jimstovallbooks.com, you can see all the books there. He's also giving away a free sample chapter of his book, One Season of Hope. And he really is one of the greats in America, because he's had so many movies written, created from his books. And, and he actually reads, this is true, he reads one book a day, or he listens to one book from cover to cover every day. And so I think that's pretty interesting. And because of that, his mind is always going. I love books too. And when you read other people's books, you start to, it's kind of like that Medici effect. When you have, you experience things from different genres and different people's experiences, and then you get more creative yourself. And so I really love that. So anyway, that is Jim Stovall. That's at stacybrookman.com/Jim Stovall. And one of my favorite podcasts of all time. You don't have to be blind to see. And let's move on to the article, How to Write a Journal Entry. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is so basic. What in the world? I'm not going to bring this to my folks here on YouTube and Facebook. No way. But they had some interesting parts in here that I thought, find something you can find, be a journal, find a writing tool, duh, set up a routine, write, choose a setting that's conducive to writing. We're getting to something a little bit more interesting. So you've got to put yourself in an environment that makes you feel calm and want to write. For me, that's under the covers in bed. But you can do it at a coffee shop too. Sometimes when I'm at a coffee shop, I get inspiration. So those are more my inspiring type of things that I write. And date your entry. And this seems like it's elemental, but really, when you go back and you can look and see, okay, here's what happened on this particular date, you're going to surprise yourself. You're going to be glad you dated it. In fact, there's one journal, gosh, I can't remember the name of it. I'll try to put this in the notes below, but it's a journal that's a 5-year journal, and you go through it, or maybe it's 3-year journal, and you go through it, and it's just like a one sentence. You write one sentence each day, and then you go back through it, and then right below there is the next year. So you see what you wrote the year before, and then you go through it again, and the 3rd year you see what you wrote the first 2 years. And I think that's a fascinating concept, but and so that's really interesting there. And then definitely start writing. Don't be self-conscious. I think I've said this before. When I first started, I'm like, I'm only writing negative stuff, because that's what was happening in my life. I'm only writing stuff that is yucky. But that's okay. You just got to get that out. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. You've got to get that out of your head onto paper, and then you can move on to better things. So don't worry about just writing junk. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about anything else. You can just do that. And then this says also be creative. I mean, you can write lists, you can write poems, you can free write, which is putting your pencil or pen on paper and just continuing to write without lifting your pencil up. Just keep writing. No matter what's in your head, just keep writing it. And I love that. And artwork and sketches. I mean, you can get really fancy with these too, but that's not me. And then know when to stop. Just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to write 3 pages, or I'm going to write 1 page, or I'm going to write for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and then stop. And because you want to keep it fun and continue to make it fun. And then the final article is the top 8 benefits of keeping a journal or a diary. So again, like I said in the beginning, a diary is more just here's what's happened, and a journal is all about what's the more emotions and the feelings and thoughts about what's happened. And so I really highly recommend journaling. And here are some of the benefits. In this particular article, it's keep your thoughts organized. Definitely it helps you be organized, because thoughts hide from us, or maybe we have something that's fleeting and it's gone. So journaling will help get that out of your head. And when you do it regularly, it's going to become a habit, and you're going to be able to capture more of those great ideas. And it improves your writing. Definitely improves your writing. Helps you set and achieve goals, because if you write it down, you're more likely to commit to it. And if you write down, did you exercise that day? Did you walk and get some sunshine that day? That's really good for keeping your goals. Record ideas on the go. Absolutely. Relieve stress. Absolutely relieves stress. And maybe even do something like get the Headspace app. I love the Headspace app. It's a little meditation that's guided, a little app that you can do it 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, and maybe you can do a little guided meditation with the Headspace app, and then you can write your journal, or vice versa. You can pair those together. And then it allows you to self-reflect, which is true, because sometimes you don't necessarily want to bounce everything off of a friend or a spouse, or it's just not the right time or convenient, but you can bounce them off yourself. You can self-reflect. Okay, why did I do that today? Why didn't I do that today? And it's a way of becoming wiser and learning some good lessons. It boosts your memory, and it inspires creativity. That's for sure. That's for sure. So that's what we have as far as our blog post, our podcast, and our articles of the week. Let's see if we have anything going on here in the comments. Not yet. And I'm not on YouTube yet as far as commenting, but I will next week. I'm going to get this technology down. So thank you for bearing with me. So now is the time where we talk about mystery mail. This is our mystery mail time period. By the way, if you want notifications of when I go live here on Facebook, simply type live, L-I-V-E, in the comments, and my little Stacy bot will let you know whenever I go live. Or if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure to click subscribe down below and hit the bell icon to be notified. You've got to do both. I don't know why YouTube does that, but you've got to subscribe and hit the bell icon. And so I highly recommend you do that. And you'll be notified when I add more videos and go live again, which is pretty doggone cool. I really love all my fans. Thank you so much for watching. We're getting better and better and better every week. I have some really cool things coming up for all of us, and you're gonna really love it. It's yeah, I'm gonna tease you but not tell you. So just stay tuned for that. All right, time for our mystery mail segment, and that's where I go through our social media and share some intriguing inquiries or comments from listeners. And this one is Jean Kennington from my Medium channel, and she says, I agree with the things that you say about abuse, but I just wish to heck people could see this type of abuse occurs everywhere in life, not just with a sexual partner. One of the worst types of abuse for me is from people who claim to love me, that have watched me since I was a child to see where my weaknesses are. This type of love can kill a person's self-confidence, while those who love me are enjoying my pain. This type of abuse is what I believe sets a person up for failure in life. Wow, Jean, very true. Absolutely. I so much wish that people could see it too. And you're right, it could be from parents, from siblings, from friends. And you know what? Most survivors look back and realize that they have multiple people like that in their lives. And it can definitely set somebody up for failure. But armed with enough knowledge and the tools to overcome it, we can thrive after emotional abuse. I'm a survivor, I'm a thriver, and I know lots of people who are. Gosh, some of them have been on my podcast, etc. So you will, yes, arm yourself with knowledge is what I would say. And then do what I do. I look at everybody around me and I observe and I try to see if someone else is in emotional abuse that maybe I could help. Because part of it is it's so subtle, and the people who are involved in emotional abuse or victims of emotional abuse often can't get out on their own. And so, yeah, that's a great topic. And thank you, Jean, for sharing that. All right, Liz Stevenson says, great article, Stacy. You inspired me to revisit Aaron Gruwell's Freedom Writers. Thanks. Well, that's awesome, Liz. Happy writing. Thank you so much yourself. All right, to summarize, our question of the day is, have you ever had a journal? Actually, there was 3 questions in one. Have you ever had a journal? Are you currently utilizing a journal? And what types of journals have you written? So, like, journals could be a gratitude journal, a prayer journal, an idea journal, all different kinds of journals. And so my blog post of the week was the worst ex ever comparison. Was your breakup this bad? The podcast of the week was Jim Stovall, You Don't Have to Be Blind to See. And we had 2 articles, How to Write a Journal Entry. Seemed very simple, but it had some great ideas. And then the top 8 benefits to keep a journal or a diary. And then, of course, we had our ever fun mystery mail review. I do hope you'll join us every single week. I'm going to experiment with different technologies, experiment with different times, and see what works. But if you want notifications on Facebook, simply type in live, L-I-V-E, in the comments. And if you're watching me on YouTube, I sure hope you click that subscribe button down below and hit the bell icon to be notified as well. I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you very much. We've got lots of other resilience resources over on my website at stacybrookman.com, and there you'll find free downloads and resources that you might find interesting and helpful in your quest for resilience. Thanks for watching Resilience This Week.